Last time we saw how to find out the ultimate pile load capacity in case of cohesive soil as well as for granular soil. So we were putting a single pile and we tried to find out the ultimate pile load capacity. But in field what happens, depending upon our method of installation of pile, so depending upon method of installation, it can be of two types, that is it can be driven or it can be bored cast in situ. So if it is a driven pile, so what happens during this driving? So when we are pushing this pile downwards, so what happens? It may move in the lateral direction. That means it is making some angle here from the vertical as well as horizontal. Now if you put a vertical load on this pile, then because of this load, bending stresses will develop in the pile material or in the pile itself. Bending stresses will develop, and we have not designed this pile for these bending stresses, so this pile may fail structurally. So we do not use a single pile if we are using the driven pile method. Instead of that, we will use at least 3 piles. That means we will use a pile group. So we'll use 3 piles and we'll put in this shape, that is a corner of the triangle, and we'll apply the load, that is the column load will come on the centroid of this triangle. So that is about the driven pile, and the reason is because during driving this pile may turn in the lateral direction, and because of that the load will not be vertical on the pile. Whereas if we are using this other kind of method of installation, that is bored and cast in situ, then what happens? In this method, first we bore a hole or we drill a hole in the ground, and during this drilling we have much more control. So we can make a vertical hole and then we can place our pile in this. So that will be quite vertical, and in this case we can use single pile. But sometimes we will have to use more piles, that means pile group also we will have to use in this case also, because if the load carrying capacity is not sufficient of a single pile, then we may have to go for pile group in case of bored and cast in situ pile also. But in driven pile we always have to go for pile group. So that is the difference between this method of installation. Now when we put these piles in a group, so to connect these piles we will use a beam or a slab. That means at this point there will be a beam connecting these 3 piles or whatever number of piles is there, so connecting these 3 piles. So this part is called as pile cap. Now if the level of surface, that is this ground surface, and there is this distance between, I mean the pile cap is above the ground surface, then it is called as freestanding pile. Whereas if this surface is somewhere here, it means this is our pile group and the pile cap is at this level, or if it is below this level, that means the ground surface is here, then we call this as piled foundation. That is the difference between the two. Sometimes what happens, sometimes even we have kept our surface at this level, so during flooding or something this part of soil may wash out and this shape will take place. That means a pile foundation may become a freestanding pile. And in case of expansive soil, which is our black cotton soil best example, so if this kind of soil is there, then we will always use this kind of method. That means we'll keep our pile cap at some distance from the surface of the soil. So after that, now we have understood that we need to use pile group in certain cases or in most of the cases. Then the next question is, what is the capacity or the load carrying capacity of the pile group? Now if you say this load carrying capacity, let's say, of pile group is, giving this term as name of QUG. Now if you say this QUG is equal to N times QU, whereas where QU is the ultimate pile load capacity of a single pile and N is the number of piles. So you say that the ultimate pile load capacity of this group should be equal to number of piles times the pile capacity of a single pile. Then it may be true or it may not be true. So we introduce one more term here, that is group efficiency. And this group efficiency we denote it with eta, and it is equal to QUG divided by N into QU. That means the pile load capacity of the group divided by the sum of capacities of the single piles. So this term eta can be less than 1, it can be equal to 1, and it can be greater than 1, and it depends on certain things. So what are the factors affecting group efficiency? So these factors are spacing between the pile and the type of soil and the method of installation. So these two, this second and third reason affects more, and the first reason, it can be different depending upon the type of soil and method of installation. So if spacing is less, in general I'm saying, if spacing is less, then what happens, the stress which is trying to develop on this surface, it cannot develop fully. This stress zones will interfere. So let's say the stress zone for this pile goes somewhere here and the stress zone for this pile is somewhere here. So this part is interfering, and because of that the group efficiency reduces to less than 1. And if the spacing is adequate, then in that case this eta will be equal to 1. But if we are using more spacing, then obviously we have to make a bigger pile cap, and then we have to check for the economy, whether it is remaining economical or not. Now these remaining two factors, so the type of soil, that means if it is a loose sand or if it is a dense sand, so in that case this efficiency will be different. So if it is a loose sand, so what happens, even if we are putting a small spacing, but because of this driving, or if we are using the driven method of installation, so these two are linked. Whether I'm talking about type of soil, in that case also I have to check whether it is a driven pile or it is a bored and cast in situ pile. So if it is a driven pile and if it is a loose sand along with that, then in that case if this spacing is less, even then the eta will be greater than 1, because the soil will densify. Whereas if it is a dense sand and if we are using again this driven method, and if this spacing is less, then the soil will dilate or the sand will dilate and this efficiency will go less than 1. And if this spacing is sufficient in the soil, then we can say the eta is equal to 1. Now the method of installation, so I talked about the driven method, and the next is bored and cast in situ method. So in this method the soil is not disturbed, so you can remember it like this: if we are using bored and cast in situ method, then the soil is not disturbed. So it is good in case of dense sand, because in dense sand if we are using the driven method, then this efficiency can reduce to less than 1 if we are using a very small spacing. So in that case, if we have to use small spacing, then this method is better, because in this case the soil will not be disturbed and we can use eta is equal to 1. These are the factors that affect the group efficiency of a pile group. And after that, the IS code has given certain recommendations for minimum spacing. So the minimum spacing should be 2.5 the pile dia for a point bearing pile, and it is equal to 3 times the pile dia for friction pile, and it is equal to 2 times the dia for the pile in loose sand. Now this D is equal to dia of the pile if we are using a circular pile. Now what if we are using a non-circular pile? In that case we take the dia of the circumscribing circle. So we, in this case, let's say we'll use this diagonal length for this value of D. So we can use this recommendation for finding out the minimum spacing. Now let's see how do we find the pile load capacity of a group of pile. Pile load capacity of pile group. So in case of clay soil, let's see first. So this pile group can fail due to two reasons. That means there can be block failure or there can be individual pile failure. So what is this block failure now? So what happens when we are using these piles in a group? Let's say I'm putting 9 piles here. So if we have used the piles like this, then what happens? There may be a condition due to which this whole I can say this square shape, it acts as a single pile, and this whole part may fail as a one unit. That means if I'm making the elevation here, so let's say these are the 3 piles which we can see in this pile group. So what will happen, this part will fail from here, from this surface along this surface. So this unit can simply fail as a single unit, and that is called as block failure. Whereas if a single pile is failing in this group, then it is a individual pile failure. So how do we find the pile load capacity for block failure? So the pile load capacity of this block can be written as QUG is equal to CUB NC AB plus CU PB times L. Now here this CUB is the undrained cohesion at base of the pile or base of the pile group. So CUB is the undrained cohesion in this part. This is our pile group. So in this part the value of C is, we are denoting it with CUB. NC is given as 9 because we use the Skempton's parameters. AB is the area of base. Now what will be the area of base for the group? So it will be this area. Now let's say if this spacing here is S, so this length will be, here also one pile is there, so this spacing is S, this spacing is S, this part is D by 2 and this part is also D by 2. So this total length will be equal to 2S plus D. And so what is the area of base? So if it is a square shape, then it will be the square of this thing, that is 2S plus D square. So that way we can find out this area of the base. So that is our first term, and in this second term Cu Pb into L. So this is about the surface area and the cohesion on the surface. So the cohesion on this side, on the surface side, the value of cohesion here is Cu. It is there in this equation, and Pb is the surface area, or Pb into L is the surface area. Pb here is the perimeter. So if we calculated this length 2S plus D is one side, so what will be the value of perimeter? It will be times 4. So that is the value of Pb, and L will be this embedded length. So if we multiply this Pb into L, so we will get the surface area. So whereas in this is about the failure as a group, as a block failure, or I can say failure as a one big pile. But if we see the failure of individual pile, so this equation was CUB NC AB plus alpha CU into AS, let's say. And this AS, in case of single pile, if we are using a circular pile, this AS is equal to pi dl. So rest of the things is same. AB here will be equal to pi by 4 d square. But what I want to tell you is that in this equation we use this value of alpha, which was defined as the adhesion factor. And in this case we are not using alpha, or we can say if we are writing alpha here, then alpha is equal to 1. So why is alpha less than 1 mostly in case of single pile, and here it is equal to 1? Because in a pile group, if it is failing as a group, then in this part the soil is there and it is interacting with the surrounding soil, and because of that this adhesion factor becomes equal to 1. Whereas in case of single pile, we talk about the interaction between a pile and the soil which is there surrounding this pile. So that is the difference between the alpha in a pile group and in an individual pile. Now what will be the value of pile load capacity of the group? So let's say for the block failure, or from the block failure criteria, we find this QUG, and that is QUG1, and from the individual pile failure criteria we found this QUG2. So the ultimate pile load capacity of the group will be equal to minimum of QUG1 and QUG2. So that way we can find out the pile load capacity of the group in case of cohesive soil. And in case of cohesionless soil, in case of cohesionless soil, you need not worry about all this. So I'm just talking about the calculation part. We find out the QU, that is the ultimate pile load capacity of a single pile, and we multiply it by the N, that is the number of pile. So QUG, that is the ultimate pile load capacity of the group, is equal to N into QU in case of cohesionless soil. If nothing about efficiency is given. If efficiency is given, then you will use efficiency. Otherwise, in case of cohesionless soil, this efficiency is taken as 1. In the design also, this efficiency is taken as 1 for the cohesionless soil. That means for sand. So other factors can also be there. That means eta can be greater than 1 if it is a driven sand. If it is a driven pile in loose sand, and this eta is equal to 1. This is one more recommendation for spacing of 5 to 6 times dia. 5 to 6 times dia of the pile. And in dense sand, this eta can be less than 1 if we are using this driven criteria. But in design we normally use eta is equal to 1. So that's why I said we will simply find the pile load capacity of a single pile and we will multiply it by the number of piles to find out the pile load capacity of the group. And you know how do we find this pile load capacity of a single pile? That is QU is equal to sigma times N cube into area of base plus Fs into As. Here Fs is equal to K into sigma tan delta. So that way we can find out these values. So that is about the pile load capacity of the group of pile. Okay, one more small thing is there in this. So if we are placing piles in sand, and this is our given area, so we will start from the center. So first pile we will place here and then we will move outwards. So this way we will put our piles. And why do we do like this? To avoid the tightening of the ground. So what if we do from outwards to inwards? So if I place piles like this first and if I place in the middle later, so what will happen? Due to this driving of the pile, this sand will become dense and this proper space will not be there for this middle pile, and because of that this sand will come outside because no place is there to move, so it will move outwards. So to avoid all that, we use this method. We'll place first in the middle, then we'll move outwards.